They asked me why I am grieving, what I am sad for losing. I may be too late to remember the old world, but I am too early to have forgotten it. We have been robbed of our relationships. This modern world traded relationship for convenience, and now our connections are growing thin. But our hands and our bodies remember. There is a whisper of voices carried on the wind and in the waves. It is in our stories and in our song. Our ways, our crafts and our traditions can live on, carried forth on the river of time, bending and flowing along with us. These connections to the earth and to our past are what it means to be alive, to be human.
Here's a hell to the company. Why is my man? What drink can be merry? All out of one glass. What drink can be merry? All grieve to be free. For we may and never all be here again.
What did we call surdukes? Do you remember we calling that? So there was like a clover plant. God knows if any dog had done a wee or anything on it, but
No,
anyway.
I remember you talking about them, but I don't know what they were.
Aye, we'd a lot of silly things when we were young. Because at one time we were away up the glen with my aunt, and she was collecting cows' pancakes. They were hard, you know, they get hard in the fields. And I said, what's my Aunt Chrissy doing? She said, it's for the garden. She used to just tie them up with a scarf.
But when it came to foraging for food, it was really just brambles and apples if we could find them.
What do you call that stuff you used to make a drink with?
Oh, the slowberries.
Slowberries.
Yes.
That was a thing we could pick up as well.
What would you make with the sloes? Oh, that would have been put into alcohol.
Uh-huh.
It was sort of a natural progression from foraging for things that we could eat, so which obviously stems back from getting the brambles, and during lockdown and having access to Rosemount, and there was just so much there that I could learn about and forage, and just I was sort of building up my own knowledge of local plants. Found lichens interesting but didn't know that they had a use, so I was able to start looking into it from there, and from lichens started thinking about other things that you could make dyes from. So nettles came next, and then I was trying sort of household things. When I'm out there connecting with these plants and I'm learning about them and then bringing them home and using them, I feel like I'm connecting to my ancestry as well. So often now we are taught to fear nature. Don't touch that. I'll put that down. And yeah, I think it's important to be cautious, but we shouldn't be scared of it. Start with something so simple like a bramble, because you really can't go wrong with a bramble. And then you might find raspberries. Gorse smells amazing and everyone's put off by it because it's so spiky, but the flowers are edible. You can make an amazing ink, you can make paint from it. So, I think it's so important.
We went along the beach a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Beach combing, we'll call it, and if there was any coal, we always picked up coal, and we always come back with something for the fire. We never passed it.
And my mother went for coal when she was a girl as well. So just ran, but there was a lot of coal in our day on the beach.
Highland ponies themselves, again, they're a rare breed. They were traditionally bred for working on the hills, working around. And as time went by and they started using more vehicles, the need for Highland ponies went down. It's easier to sit a quad bike in a shed than it is a pony. So we use the Highland ponies. They're just great personalities. They're really easy ponies to work with. They're keen to please. They're hard workers. And they're very smart as well. They know what you're asking them to do. Our guys live out the hill year round. So from a young age, so our foal that was born this year, she spent the first couple of months of her life in a flat grass paddock, but after that she got out of Glen. So she's developing on her own how to walk across boggy ground, uneven ground, stony ground. So she learns that just in her own time, in her own way. So her mum's out there with her, and then the rest of the herd all help look after the ponies. So they begin their learning about how to walk on the hill from a really young age and at their own pace. They're just more enjoyable to use than a quad bike. When you're sat out in the cold and the rain, you can't cuddle your quad bike, but your pony will warm your hands up by licking your hands. You can heat your hands up underneath their mane. It's a company thing as well. A lot of gamekeepers, especially nowadays, struggle with like loneliness and isolation. It's quite a lot more talked about with mental health as well. Your lone workers, your rural workers all struggle. And from that aspect, then you do get a lot back from a pony, and that could be. There's also the financial side of it as well. So it is quite becoming more and more popular that people like seeing ponies being worked, that bringing back of tradition and kind of how it used to be, the nice calm nature of walking the pony off the hill. Looks a bit more dignified as well when you carry the animal out on the saddle. It's put up there with care, it's carried in with care. So it's really respecting that animal from start to finish. Oh, as long as deer have been shot, they probably used animals to take them off the hill. Because before there was the quad bike, the horse was really your only option. People have always been going out distances to get the deer. But it's certainly here, it stopped being done in the 1980s, was the last time police was used here. So it's taken 40 years to get it back here. Which feels like a big achievement in itself. Yeah, I definitely think more people have gone back to that traditional way of doing it. From an environmental point of view, we're very conscious out here how the environment does impact everything we do. And obviously the wetter days, the warmer weather, it affects everything on the estate. So if we can help reduce how much we're putting in there by using something a lot more eco-friendly, then that's only a bonus. There's no downside from an environmental side of using a pony.
It's shouts to be Scottish. Like, that is a real thing. It's unresolved community trauma. One of the ways that you heal that is by re-engaging people in their community and by reflecting back at them their own stories and show that they have value. Because that's the first thing. It's building self-esteem, because self-esteem allows you to take the next step, which is pride and part of. And then you feel proud of a community, proud to be part of a community, like feeling Scottish, feeling like, you know, when we're from the west of Scotland and there's something to be proud of that. That can do a lot for individual people, and actually does a lot for the big issues that we see in Scotland. Drugs, alcohol, violence, these are all things which are tied to people feeling disconnected from culture, disconnected from their community.
And Nana's house always smelled of soup.
Yeah, it did. She was, well,
Always soup.
when I was young and brought up, it was all plain fare. I think that's why I'm not such a good cook. It's just all plain fare that I knew.
There's nothing wrong with plain fare.
Yeah. That was one of our treats.
Yeah, I loved that. Until the wee paper bag went soggy and your sugar fell out.
Oh, that was one of the things you had to do.
But you used to do that for me.
Yes.
Because that's something that you
That's
had.
it. I passed the tradition on. A nice, fresh, new bit of rhubarb. And crunch, crunch, crunch.
Gosh, when you think it all.
So did your nana grow rhubarb?
Yes. I think everybody grew rhubarb.
Mm.
So it was one of these things, I suppose, during the war it was handy to have.
Yeah, and potatoes. We always had potatoes in the garden, which was handy. Of course, steak
But Nana's
pies.
soups were always better than your soups, and I
She-
don't know why.
She used bones,
I
which
know.
they're not allowed to nowadays, seemingly.
Because the dog used to get the bone afterwards.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
bones.
Papa used to eat the marrow out.
That's it. Flank mutton. Yep.
Oh, I love flank mutton.
Yeah, and
But
she
Papa
made
always
potato
had,
soup with that.
My Papa always had the wee meaty bits out
Yeah.
of it, but if
And-
I was able to get a wee bit, it was lovely.
And my old granny was the best dumpling maker ever. Clouty dumpling. Boy, she could make them. We always got one at Christmas from her. She always made that.
I think my granny used to do that, make dumplings.
Did you put the
The muslin round
put,
it.
I think
and then
so,
the,
yeah.
put the sixpences in it, as we call them?
Oh yeah, tanners.
You can really bite into it and you nearly break your teeth.
But that's, I'm going probably back to when we all lived in the house in Glasgow.
Uh-huh. Oh, these are generations of things that we've... It was on to the next generation, but it's all stopped now.
You know, we've been here for thousands of years and we've been gathering these plants and learning about what we can eat and how we can use things and these recipes that get passed down and passed down. So when I am in the woods and I identify a plant and I pick that plant and then I bring it home and I make something and then I feed my family and my friends with that, it's like I'm tapping into this ancient line of knowledge and connection that has all come down to me.
I think material. I think if we want to re-engage people in a real story about Scottish history and Scottish culture, it's material culture. It is fashion. It is archives. It is food. Food is really special because it uses all your senses, and I always say, like, if you take shortbread for example, people in Scotland have been standing over a bowl rubbing butter into flour for at least 400 or 500 years. Actually, the history of shortbread goes back about, I think it's 700-800 years, really. So if we can begin to look at, actually, when I stand in 2025 and 2026, when I stand over a bowl rubbing butter into flour, it's a cultural act that spans 500 years. And when I do that, I can feel Scottish.
Did you learn from your mother?
Yes.
And I learned from Nana to knit. And I
And I
remember
learned it at
Granny knitting.
Oh, Granny. Well, She just used to knit
they
three
never-
squares.
They never really turned out
And it was just something for her to do.
one
but
sleeve
my-
longer than the other. Or
My own mum was a very good knitter, and my aunt, and she was a seamstress, and she taught us. But my mother was clever with her hands. She would
Yes.
make things, and we were quite happy with dolls. She would make it around dolls.
She showed me how to make the peg dolls,
Oh yeah, that was
Um,
another thing.
the dolly pegs.
And do you remember the one thing she made with 2 matchboxes, and you held one in your head,
Yes, and the bit of string.
bit of string, and it was like a theatre, and you would hear the curtains opening, and then she would have the matchbox with this, with the match, and
For
she would, and it
the-
would be
the
people
audience.
clapping. So I say, Mum, I've still got a jumper she made, knitted for me. Still got it. Anyway. But no, we were make do and mend. That was in our day. We just patch your shoes or
Down
no,
your
the
socks.
big holes in your sock, down your socks, over. And we used to get the toes cut out our shoes so our toes would come through. So it's a different generation now, Ruth, for making do and mend. Yeah, there you go. Must be something in our genes, Jeanette.
Definitely.
And then you go back through and pull the top one.
Mum, that was witchcraft.
That was witchcraft. Leave that one long. Nobody knows that it's been tied.
Well, all I can say really is that when I was a wee boy, 8-year-old, that was in 1948, I decided we were going to play the fiddle. And my mother in her wisdom, Scottish one, gave us some lessons from a fellow called Chris Faithful, who was a music teacher in the Fries. I went to Langham in 1976, I think it was. And there I got involved in the Modernist Trustee and Rule Society, which was a big group at that time, and carried in it a lot of people of professional quality players. And that's really where the traditional learning started, I suppose, really. I mean, obviously I knew quite a lot of traditional tunes, but we really started to accumulate them then. But I think these are kind of in the past now. The in-house, off-the-cuff sessions, they seem to be a thing of the past. You don't see them down here now anyway.
And we decided we would start a couple of sessions nearer us, and the local pub asked us if we would go and play on a Wednesday night, so we play 2 sessions a month in Thornhill, and there's still sessions going along in Kikupri. They are really the remnants of the original session scene that was going when I first came down here. I don't think it's as strong as it was in the old days here. These things, people move around. If you go into your cities and look up sessions, if you want to find a session in Edinburgh or Glasgow, you could find one every night of the week. So it's not dying out, and I would say that since probably the start of the century, there's been a bit of an upturn on youngsters playing traditional music that maybe wasn't there before. It has become trendier, maybe playing a slightly different traditional music to what we play. But there is definitely an upturn in traditional music at the moment. in youngsters.
So have you been experimental rather than actual recipes that have been tried and tested?
Yes, I mean, I'll look into what have people used before, and get a kind of basic and sort of understanding of how the dyes are made. So I know, using a vinegar or using ammonia for the lichen dyes, and then it's experimental from there. So I'll pick whatever I can pick, and then have experimented with different sort of ratios of acid to water or alkaline to water. There is trial and error within that, so certain things maybe need a stronger solution.
And does that dictate the colours or the intensity of the colours?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I've had, actually at the moment, I've got 2 lichen dyes which are the same, and they already are slightly different colours. One of the more recent one, I think it's possibly been brewing, steeping for longer than the other one was, and I think I've made the solution slightly stronger, or there's been more of the lichen, and that's made the colour a much darker sort of red-brown.
So does the freshness of the lichens or the leaves or whatever make a difference as well if they're less hydrated? Or?
I think it might, because again, because I've had, I think, 3 different batches just in this year. Some of them I've maybe picked when we were in Argyll, and I've had to wait till we've got home after a few days, and they've started to dry out by that point, and then I'm making up the solution for the dyes. And I think that does change things, because you've got a water content in there.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly the drier they are, the darker they are.
And why do you think it is important to keep this tradition alive? Is it the sustainability or just the knowledge?
Yeah, for me it's definitely the knowledge, because I think, knowledge in terms of, I think it's so important that we understand the natural world around us. That knowledge is kind of being lost. People don't know what they can use different plants for, if at all. Like myself, I didn't know that you could do anything with lichens. I thought they were just an indicator of how clean the air is. But it turns out actually you can do something with them. So I think that it's important from that sort of standpoint, but also historically. Because like I was saying, the reason that I kind of got into lichen dyes was because of listening to how it was a very, very much a heritage, ancestral craft, where all the women in the family, they would just know seasonally when to collect it, which part of the glen to go, why it would be better on one side than the other, where there would be more lichens, and which ones yielded the best dyes. There's so many different elements to why I think it's important to notice these things, to learn about them, and engaging with a craft like that, I think, really heightens your appreciation for them.
So when we talk about the romanticising of Scotland and the flattening of our culture into a monolith, what we're really talking about is when people feel disconnected from their sense of identity, what it often leads to is them feeling disconnected from their community.
And yours,
We're meant to be
right,
better.
it's not quite started at the beginning, it's the chorus. Here's a hell, likewise my minds, thy strength can be merry, all out of one glass string can be merry, all grief to be free, for we may and we never all meet here again. Here's a healthy mind I love she will, a pure heart and body, my name can excel. The smile on her countenance as she sits on my knee, just name and a sly word, as happy as we. Here's a hell, likewise my lass, my string can be merry, all out of one glass. My string can be merry, all grief to repay. For me and me never all meet here again. The ship lies in harbour, she's ready to dock. I hope she's safe landed without